Shri Guru Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivashikam Vidamsya Om Agyana Timaranda Shagyana Shalakaya Chakshurum Milidam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namah Gorva Bishtam Sapurkam Gurganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samastaveda Nipanam Shirupa Patanagam Govinda Abhidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vinam Sundaram Mande Vishwaguruncha Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchandabaranam Balarka Shelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyambunim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Vanditam Shubharam Maneka Sharanam Nyashishvara Shidaram Vanshakopatarubyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurachavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Adi-lila chapter 5, the glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram, and text number 142. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasabhritya Jarijai Che Nachai Se Taichi Kore Nritya. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller, and all others are his servants. They dance as he makes them do so. E Mata Chaitanya Gosai Ekale Ishvar Arasab Parishad Keho Ba Kinkar. Thus Lord Chaitanya is the only controller. All others are his associates or servants. Guru Varga Nityananda Dvaitacharya Shivasadi Arajata Lagu Sama Arya Sabe Parishad Sabe Lilara Sahai Sabaloya Nidjakarya Sade Gorarai. His elders, such as Lord Nityananda, Advaitacharya, and Srivas Thakur, as well as his other devotees, whether as juniors, equals, or superiors, are all his associates who help him in his pastimes. Lord Gauranga fulfills his aims with their help. And it says Guru Varga Nityananda Advaitacharya. So there, Srivas Adi Jata Lagu Samarya. Okay, so Guru Varga Nityananda and Advaitacharya. Advaitacharya Nityananda Dui Anga Dui Jana Loya Prabhu Jata Kichuranga. Sri Advaitacharya and Srila Nityananda Prabhu, who are plenary parts of the Lord, are his principal associates. With these two, the Lord performs his pastimes in various ways. Advaitacharya Gosai Sakadishwar Prabhu Guru Korimane Tihonata Kinghara. Lord Advaitacharya is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Lord Chaitanya accepts him as his preceptor, Advaitacharya is a servant of the Lord. So here, Advaitacharya Gosai Sakadishwar. He's directly Ishwar, the Lord himself. Lord Chaitanya always offered respects to Advaita Prabhu as he would to his father, because Advaita was even older than his father, yet Advaita Prabhu always considered himself a servant of Lord Chaitanya. Sri Advaitacharya and Ishwara Puri, Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master, were both disciples of Madhavendra Puri, who was also the spiritual master of Nityananda Prabhu. Thus Advaitacharya, as Lord Chaitanya's spiritual uncle, was always to be respected, because one should respect one's spiritual master's godbrothers as one respects one's spiritual master. Because of all these considerations, Sri Advaita Prabhu was superior to Lord Chaitanya, yet Advaita Prabhu considered himself Lord Chaitanya's subordinate. Acharya Gosara Tattva Nak Jai Katan Krishna Vatari Jeho Tarila Bhuvan. I cannot describe the truth of Advaitacharya. He has delivered the entire world by making Lord Krishna descend. Nityananda Swarup Purve Hoya Lakman Lagub Brata Hoya Kore Ramera Seban. Lord Nityananda Swarup formerly appeared as Lakshman and served Lord Ramachandra as his younger brother. Among the sannyasis of the Shankar Sampradaya, there are different names for brahmacharis. Each sannyasi has some assistants known as brahmacharis, who are called by different names according to the names of the sannyasi. Among such brahmacharis, there are 4 names: Swarup, Ananda, Prakash, and Chaitanya. Nityananda Prabhu maintained himself as a brahmachari. He never took sannyas. As a brahmachari, his name was Nityananda Swarup, and therefore the sannyasi under whom he was living must have been from the tirthas or ashramas of the Shankar Sampradaya, because one of the names for the assistant brahmachari of such a sannyasi is Swarup. So from that sannyasi Swarup from either who is tirtha or ashram. There's Srila Saraswati Thakur, he in his Gaudiya Kantahar, he mentions 108 names of sannyas, but 10 are original names. And ashram is one of them. Also, well, I could name all the others: Puri, Ban, Saraswati, like that goes on. You can say the other names. What? Puri, Ban, Tirtha is one, yes, and Giri.
Saraswati.
Yeah, Saraswati. Okay. Ramera Charitrasab Duharakaran Swatantra Lila Yaduka Sahena Lakman. The activities of Lord Rama were full of suffering, but Lakshman, of his own accord, tolerated that suffering. One of the reasons he has to tolerate that suffering is he's the younger brother of Lord Ramachandra. So he'll serve his older brother, but he cannot dictate to his brother what his brother will do. So it's very difficult. If Lord Ramachandra is resolute in going into exile and going through so many austerities, then Lakshman can only serve the order of his brother, and he can help and alleviate to some extent the difficulties that Ramachandra faces by serving him, but he can't override the decisions of his elder brother. So, Nisheda korite nare jata chotabai monadwari rohe lakman mane dukapai. As a younger brother, he could not stop Lord Rama from his resolution, and so he remained silent, although unhappy in his mind. Krishna Bhatare Jeshta Hoila Sevara Karan Krishna Ke Karailam Nana Sukha Ashwadan. When Lord Krishna appeared, he, Balaram, became his elder brother to serve him to his heart's content and make him enjoy all sorts of happiness. Then it was difficult for him as a younger brother, so in the Krishna Lila, he appeared as the elder brother. The elder brother could, alleviate some of the suffering by sometimes overriding Krishna's different decisions of Krishna. Rama Lakman Krishna Ramer Amsha Vishesh Avatara Kale Dohe Dohate Pravesh. Sri Rama and Sri Lakshman, who are plenary portions of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram respectively, entered into them at the time of Krishna and Balaram's appearance. With reference to the Vishnu Dharmotara, The Laghu Bhagavatamrita explains that Rama is an incarnation of Vasudeva, Lakshman is an incarnation of Sankarshan, Bharata is an incarnation of Pradyumna, and Shatrugna is an incarnation of Aniruddha. The Padma Purana describes that Ramachandra is Narayan, and Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrugna are, respectively, Sesh, Chakra, and Shank, the conch shell in the hand of Narayan. In the Rama Gita of the Skanda Purana, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrugna have been described as the triple attendants of Lord Rama. So different versions of the same thing. Okay. Say Amsha. So if somebody says, how can that be? Then, when I was in college, we used to hear a phrase, it should be intuitively obvious to the most casual observer. That was what they used to say. Say Amsha Loya Jeshta Kanishta Abhiman Amsham Si Rupe Shastre Koraye Vyakyan. Krishna and Balaram present themselves as younger brother and elder brother, but in the scriptures they are described as the original Supreme Personality of Godhead and his expansion. Okay. Ramade Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan Nana Vataram Akarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Parama Pumanyo Govindamari Parusham Tamaham Bhajami. Jai Shri Gurudev. Maharaj. Jai. These garlands are very nice because they're light. Huh? Okay. I worship Jai Devashush Prabhu Ki Jai. Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Jai Bhakti Vigrahanyasi Maharaj Ki Jai.
Okay. We can say that those are different, the same actors, but on different play.
All right. Correct. Okay. Because you have said it must be true. No, that you're right. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who by his various plenary portions appears in the world in different forms and incarnations, such as Lord Rama, but who personally appears as in his supreme original form as Lord Krishna. So, for instance, in the Bhagavatam, when it describes Lord Varaha, it describes him two places differently. So then, if you said, which one is correct? No. Different millenniums, different appearances, it appears in different ways. It's not according to a stereotype.
And what are those two appearance descriptions of Lord Gauranga?
Yes, that's true.
What are the
yes. Sri Chaitanya, Say Krishna, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Purna Kore, Chaitanya Rakam. I believe two different colors, red and white. Sri Chaitanya, Say Krishna, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Purna Kore, Chaitanya Rakam. Lord Chaitanya is the same Lord Krishna, and Lord Nityananda is Lord Balaram. Lord Nityananda fulfills all of Lord Chaitanya's desires. Nityananda Mahima Sindhu Ananta Par Ek Kana Sparshi Matra Se Kripa Tahar. The ocean of Lord Nityananda's glories is infinite and unfathomable. Only by his mercy can I touch even a drop of it. Ara Ek Shunatara Kripara Mahima Arama Jivere Chadaila Urdvasima. Please listen to another glory of his mercy. He made a fallen living entity climb to the highest limit. Veda guya kata e ajogya kohite tatapi kohiye tara kripa prakashite. To disclose it is not proper, for it should be kept as confidential as the Vedas, yet I shall speak of it to make his mercy known to all. Ulasa upare lekon tomara prasad Nityananda Prabhu mora kama aparad. O Lord Nityananda, I write of your mercy out of great exultation. Please forgive me for my offenses. I felt this a little yesterday when we were talking about Govinda Maharaj. I thought some of the things I shouldn't be saying, but you know. Anyway, I think there's the argument. If I don't say it, who will? And where is it? You know that in the scriptures there's that saying where it says, if I don't say this, who will? But if I say this, those who shouldn't hear it, they won't understand anyway. So what could be more glory? What could be more happy than that? There's some statement like that. Okay, well, I can't get off that easily, but. Ulasa upari lekun tomara prasad Nityananda Prabhu mora kamaparad. O Lord Nityananda, I write of your mercy out of great exultation. Please forgive me for my offenses. Avadut Gosara e Britya Premadam Minaketan Ramadas Hoy Taranam. Lord Nityananda Prabhu had a servant named Sri Minaketan Ramdas, who was a reservoir of love. So here's the word. Avadut Gosaya. Okay. All of you have relationship with that Avadut. Avadut Gosaya. Lord Nityananda, he's the Avadut. Lord Nityananda Prabhu had a servant named Sri Minaketan Ramdas, who was a reservoir of love. Amara loye aho ratra sankirtan tahate aila teho Pana Nimantran. At my house there was a Sankirtan day, and there was Sankirtan day and night, and therefore he visited there, having been invited. Is there anyone here who speaks Russian? No. You're the only one? Do you speak English also? Okay. Okay. Amara aloye aho ratra sankirtan tahate ailade ho bhaya nimantran. In my house there was Sankirtan day and night, and therefore he visited there, having been invited. This is Sri Minaketan Ramdas, who visited the house of Krishnadas Kaviraj. He lives in the house of his elder brother. Mahaprema moy tiho Basila Angane Sakala Vaishnava Tara Bandila Charane. Absorbed in emotional love, Minaketan Ramdas sat in my courtyard, and all the Vaishnavas bowed down at his feet. Namaskara korite kara uparete chade preme kare bhamshe mare kahake chapade. In a joyful mood of love of God, he sometimes climbed upon the shoulder of someone offering obeisances. And sometimes he struck others with his flute or mildly slapped them. Je nayana dekite ashru hoy manejar se netre abichina bahe ashrudar. When someone saw the eyes of Minaketan Ramdas, tears would automatically flow from his own eyes, for a constant shower of tears flowed from the eyes of Minaketan Ramdas. Anyone who saw him was obviously imbued or affected by Krishna Prem, that he himself, and Minaketan Ramdas, he's one of the Dvadasha Gopas. He's an intimate associate of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Kabukon angedeki pulaka kadamba ek ange jadyatara ara ange kampa. So he's visiting the house of Krishnadas Kaviraj. Sometimes there were eruptions of ecstasy like kadamba flowers on some parts of his body, and sometimes one limb would be stunned while another would be trembling. So you see kadamba flowers, they're round and they look like, what is it, like they have, almost they look like they have spines or something there. In other words, his skin would have like this eruptions of would appear like goosebumps or something, like pimples with the hair standing on end, and one of his limbs would be stunned, which wouldn't move, and the others trembling. And all this is out of ecstasy. Sometimes there are eruptions of ecstasy like kadamba flowers on some parts of his body, and sometimes one limb would be stunned while another would be trembling. Nityananda Boli Jabe Korana Hunkar Dahadeki Lokera Hoy Maha-Chamatkar. Whenever he shouted aloud the name Nityananda, the people around him were filled with great wonder and astonishment. So he would cry aloud, very loudly, the name of Nityananda Prabhu. Gunarnava Mishra Name Ek Vipra Arya Shri Murti Nikate Teho Kore Seva Karya. One respectable Brahmin named Sri Gunarnava Mishra was serving the deity. So that Gunarnava Mishra is the pujari there of the deity. Anganayashiya Teho Nakoila Sambash Tahadeki Krudahoya Bole Ramadas. When Meenaketan was seated in the yard, this Brahma did not offer him respect. Seeing this, Sri Ramdas became angry and spoke. So when Sri Meenaketan Ramdas was there sitting in the courtyard, the Brahman just went about his duties, but he didn't show any respect to Meenaketan Ramdas. So that caused some, what's the word? Consternation. What can we say? What's another way of saying that? It caused some disturbance with Sri Meenaketan Ramdas. Eta Dritiya Shutar Romaharshana Baladeva Deki Jay Nakoila Pratyudgama. Here I find the second Romaharshana Sutta, who did not stand to show honor when he saw Lord Balaram. And Naimisharanya, when Balaram came there, Romaharshana Sutta didn't show any respect to him. And then Balaram was annoyed, you could say. So he killed him with a blade of grass. So when someone didn't offer any respect, when the priest serving the deity didn't offer any respect to Meenaketan Ramdas, he said, here's another Romaharshana Sutta. Because Meenaketan Ramdas knows that he's not showing him respect because he doesn't respect Nityananda Prabhu. That's why he's not showing respect to him. Eta bolinache gai koraye santosh Krishna karya kori vipra na kori la rosh. After saying this, he danced and sang to his heart's content. But the Brahma did not become angry for he was then serving Lord Krishna. I remember, of course, maybe I shouldn't say this, but when we originally came to the lotus feet, the devotees came to the lotus feet of Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Then some persons were saying, oh, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is a great Vaishnava, but we don't respect his disciples because they're all nonsense, they're doing nonsense. And that was that's really an insult to Srila Guru Maharaj. It's not like, you can say he's a great devotee, but you don't accept his disciples. That's really a slap at Guru Maharaj. And when different commentaries were conveyed to Srila Guru Maharaj, what was his reaction? He said, when they said things, he said, that's all? That's all they have to say? I'm much worse than that. And he said, that's all they have to say? It is rather a compliment. I am much worse than that. But, so Minaketa Ramdas is like this. He's a disciple of Nityananda, and he knows that Minaketa Ramdas is not respecting him because he doesn't respect Nityananda Prabhu. After saying this, he, Minaketa Ramdas, danced and sang to his heart's content. But the Brahman, Gunana Mishra, the Brahman did not become angry, for he was then serving Lord Krishna. Minaketa Ramdas was a great devotee of Lord Nityananda. When he entered the house of Krishnadas Kaviraj, Gunarnava Mishra, the priest who was worshipping the deity installed in the house, did not receive him very well. A similar event occurred when Ramaharshana Sutta was speaking to the great assembly of sages at Naimisharanya. Lord Baladev entered that great assembly, but since Ramaharshana Sutta was on the Vyasasan, he did not get down to offer respect to Lord Baladev. The behavior of Gunanava Mishra indicated that he had no great respect for Lord Nityananda, and this idea was not at all palatable to Minaketa Ramdas. For this reason, the mentality of Minaketa Ramdas is never deprecated by devotees. Utsavante ge latiho koriya prasad mora brata sanetara kichu hoilabad. At the end of the festival, Minaketa Ramdas went away, offering his blessings to everyone. At that time, he had some controversy with my brother. Sri Chaitanya Prabhu te Tara Sudrida Vishwas Nityananda Prati Tara Vishwas Abbas. My brother had firm faith in Lord Chaitanya, but only a dim glimmer of faith in Lord Nityananda. Ihajani Ramadaser Dukkha Hoilamane Tabita Bratare Ami Korinu Vartsane. Knowing this, Sri Ramdas felt unhappy in his mind. I then rebuked my brother. So it's the continuation of the same situation with Gunarnava Mishra, and now also that sentiment is there in the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj. They're together in the same household, and they have this strain of their ideas, and they're not really respecting Nityananda Prabhu. Duibai Ektanu Samana Prakash Nityananda Namana Tomara Habe Sarvanash. These two brothers, I told him, are like one body. They are identical manifestations. If you do not believe in Lord Nityananda, you will fall down. Ekete Vishwas Anya Nakara Saman Arda Kukuti Nyaya Tomara Praman. If you have faith in one but disrespect the other, your logic is like the logic of accepting half a hen. And there's a footnote here. A foolish farmer once thought he would save money by cutting his hen's head, which he had to feed, and leaving its tail, which produced the eggs. Hence, the term Ardhakukati Nyaya, literally half-hen logic. So, I'll put it in a different way. Since not everybody eats eggs, that will say a person has a hen who lays golden eggs. And he likes those golden eggs very much. But he doesn't like the arduous task, the difficulty of always feeding this hen who's gobbling up food. So he thinks, if I cut the hen in half, I'll keep the half that lays the golden eggs and get rid of the half that's always eating. Now, that's called, what is it? That's called Ardhakukati Nyaya, the logic of accepting half a hen. It just doesn't work, right? So you accept Mahaprabhu, but you don't accept Nityananda Prabhu, but they're one integral body. How can you reject half? That's called this Ardhakukati Nyaya. That's what Meena Ketan Ramdas says. No, that's what Krishna Das Kaviraj reprimands his brother. Kimbadoha na maniya hauta prampashanda ekmani aranamani e matabanda. It would be better to be an atheist by slighting both brothers than a hypocrite by believing in one and slighting the other. You're better off if you just reject them both instead of being a hypocrite. Kruda hoya bamshi bangi chale ramadas tatkale amara bratara hoila sarvanash. Thus Ramadas broke his flute in anger and went away, and at that time my brother fell down. It says, in terms of his brother, it says, Tat Kalayamara Brata Hoila Sarvanash. Sarvanash, it was a complete disaster for my brother. Okay? Eta Kohilatara Sebaka Prabhav Ara Ek Kohitara Dayara Swabhav. I have thus described the power of the servants of Lord Nityananda. Now I shall describe another characteristic of his mercy. Baike Bart Sinu Mui Loya Eguna Seiratre Prabhu More Dila Darshana. That night, Lord Nityananda appeared to me in a dream because of my good quality in chastising my brother. Naihati nikate jamata pur namigram taha swapne dekadila Nityananda Ram. In the village of Jamatpur, which is near Naihati, Lord Nityananda appeared to me in a dream. Okay, so I'm going to read this in case you want to go there or visit.
And
There's,
was him a younger brother of Kaviraj Swami?
I thought it was his elder brother. I thought his elder brother. Apparently, it seems like the priest was in the employment of his elder brother, because seemed like he's running the house, so to speak. There is now a railway line to Jamatpur. If one wants to go there, he can take a train on the Katwa railway line and go directly to the station known as Salara. From that station, one can go directly to Jamatpur. There's remarks like this, like what trains and everything. Some of them may be still running, some of them may not be running. But if somebody's really desirous of going on pilgrimage and visiting all these nice places, then they can get some information often in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. You can see where Mahaprabhu went when he went on tour of South India. You can visit places of importance. Well, one place like that is near where Govindamars appeared in Brahmanpar. That used to be called Brahmanpar, the place of the Brahmins. And later it became Brahmanpar. And there's a place there, near there, which is a famous temple of Krishnadas Kaviraj, and also it's a famous temple of Vrindavan Das Thakur. I got that wrong. Vrindavan Das Thakur, near Brahmanpar. And apparently I heard some description that Vrindavan Das Thakur was traveling with Nityananda Prabhu, and he went to a particular place, and Nityananda Prabhu liked very much one I guess it's some chutney or something that they served him. What are the amla? I think it was amla chutney or something like that. And so Vrindavan Das, he brought some of that with him, and then they traveled some distance, and then he served that to Nityananda Prabhu. And Nityananda Prabhu said, "Where'd you get this?" And he said, "Oh, I saw that you liked it, so I brought some with me." And then Nityananda Prabhu got very angry, and he said, this idea of keeping and reserving prasadam, this is not correct. This is not a good thing to do, and this is the activity of a grihasta. So it would be better if you stayed here in this place, and I don't know if he told him, and eventually get married, but from here on, don't travel with me. Nityananda Prabhu. So then, is it Vrindavan Das or Krishna Das Kaviraj? Vrindavan Das, yeah. So then he stayed at that place and wrote part of the Chaitanya Bhagavat there. And that, you know the name of that. That's very near to Bamanpar. We hear that. So it's good because it's a very, very nice place of pilgrimage. You go to Bamanpar, you can visit that place. There's many places, and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it'll tell you many places, and then the description. There'll be the description of what railway to take or how to get there. I mean, you might actually want to go to some of these places, and you say, otherwise you can say, why is it talking about that? That's for this reason. Dandavad hoyami padinu payate nijapada padma prabhu dila mohamate. I fell at his feet. He's Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying Nityananda Prabhu in his dream. I fell at his feet offering my obeisances, and he then placed his own lotus feet upon my head. Uta uta bole more, bole bar, uti tara rupa deki hoinu chamatkar. Arise, get up. He told me again and again. Upon rising, I was greatly astonished to see his beauty. Shama chikana kanti prakanda sharir sakat kandarpa jaiche maha malabir. He had a glossy blackish complexion, and his tall, strong, heroic stature made him seem like Cupid himself. Suvalita hastapada Kamalanayan Patabastu Shire Pata Mastaparidan. Okay. He had beautifully formed hands, arms, and legs, and eyes like lotus flowers. He wore a silk cloth with a silk turban on his head. Okay. Suvalita. Suvarna Kanda Pakarne Swarnangara Bala. Okay. Suvarna Kandala Karne Suvarnangara Bala Payete Nupura Baje Kante Pushpamala. Suvarna Kandala Karne Swarnangara Bala Payate Nupurabaje Kante Pushpa Mala. He wore golden earrings on his ears and golden armlets and bangles. He wore tinkling anklets on his feet and a garland of flowers around his neck. So he's wearing golden earrings and arm bracelets on his arms and bangles on his wrist and and bells on his ankle, tinkling anklets on his feet, and a garland of flowers around his neck. Chandana lepita anga tilaka sutama mata gaja jinimara mantara payana. His body was anointed with sandalwood pulp, and he was nicely decorated with tilak. His movements surpassed those of a manned elephant. Koti Chandra Jini Mukha Ujjvala Baran Darimba Bija Sama Danta Tambula Charvan. His face was more beautiful than millions upon millions of moons, and his teeth were like pomegranate seeds because of his chewing betel. His teeth are reddened. And Premi Mata Anga Dahine Bame Dole Krishna Krishna Bolia Gambir Bol Bole. His body moved to and fro, right and left, for he was absorbed in ecstasy. He chanted Krishna Krishna in a deep voice. So his body's swaying while he's saying Krishna Krishna. Ranga Jasti Haste Dole Jaina Mata Sima Charibashe Bediache Charanete Bringa. His red stick moving in his hand, he seemed like a man lion. All around the four sides of his feet were bumblebees. Parishad Gani Deki Sab Gopa Beshe Krishna Krishna Kohe Sabe Saprema Aveshe. His devotees, dressed like cowherd boys, surrounded his feet like so many bees, and also chanted Krishna Krishna, absorbed in ecstatic love. So Nityananda Prabhu with his associates in the dream of Krishnadas Kaviraj. Singha Vamshi. And Krishnadas Kaviraj says, I had this dream because I reprimanded my brother and told him, why don't you have any faith in Nityananda Prabhu? You just have faith in Mahaprabhu. You're a hypocrite. He's heavily scolded his brother, and because he heavily scolded his brother, then Nityananda Prabhu appears in his dream. And Singhabamshi Bajai Keho Nachegai Sevaka Jugaya Tambula Chamaradulai. Some of them played horns and flutes, and others danced and sang. Some of them offered betel nuts, and others waved chamara fans about him. So horns and flutes, buffalo horns sometimes they have, things like this. They're cowherd boys, and that's what they do. Nityananda Swarupara Dekya Vaibhav Kibarupa Guna Lila Alokika Sab. Thus I saw such opulence in Lord Nityananda Swarup. His wonderful form, qualities, and pastimes are all transcendental. Yeah, it says Alokika Sab. They're very not common. These are not common features. Alokika, very unusual, very special, divine. Anande bivala ami kichu nahi jani tabeha se prabhu more kohilena bani. I was overwhelmed with transcendental ecstasy, not knowing anything else. Then Lord Nityananda smiled and spoke to me as follows. Are Krishnadas Nakorab Nakorahabai Vrindavane Jaha Taha Sarvalab Yahoy. Oh, my dear Krishnadas, do not be afraid. Go to Vrindavan, for there you will attain all things. So Nityananda Prabhu appears in the dream and tells him, don't be afraid, now go to Vrindavan. Just go to Vrindavan. You know, he's in near Naihati in Bengal, and he's telling him, now go to Vrindavan. Etabole prerila more huta sanidiya antardana koila prabhu nijagana loya. After saying this, he directed me toward Vrindavan by waving his hand. Then he disappeared with his associates. Now go. Like that. Okay. Morchita hoya mui paninu bhumite swapna banga hoila deki hayache prabhate. I fainted and fell to the ground. My dream broke, and when I regained consciousness, I saw that morning had come. Ki dekinu, ki shuninu, Korye bichar, Prabhu agya hoila, Vrindavana jaibar. I thought about what I had seen and heard and concluded that the Lord had ordered me to proceed to Vrindavan at once. Sekane Vrindavane korinu gaman, Prabhura kripate suke, Ainu Vrindavan. That very second, I started for Vrindavan. And by his mercy, I reached there in great happiness. So he has this dream. In the morning he wakes up, he remembers what Nityananda Prabhu said, and he said, immediately, that very second, I started for Vrindavan. Jaya Jaya Nityananda, Nityananda Ram, Jahara Kripate Painu, Vrindavanadam. All glory to Lord Nityananda Balaram, by whose mercy I have attained shelter in the transcendental abode of Vrindavan. Jaya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Kripa Moy, Jaha Hoite Painu Rupa, Sanatana Shroy. All glory to the merciful Lord Nityananda, by whose mercy I have attained shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan. And what did Guru? Glory to the merciful Lord Nityananda, by whose mercy I have attained shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan. Ja hoite painu Raghunatha Mahashai, Ja hoite painu Sri Swarupa Shrai. By his mercy, I have attained the shelter of the great personality Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and by his mercy I have found the refuge of Sri Swarup Damodar.